innocent bystanders? Welcome to another episode of an Angel and Unicorn comic book reviews. I'm Alan the Unicorn, and with me today, as always, in the past couple months, is just James. Most amazing man ever. One of the 5 smartest people in the world. Stephen Hawking, once he passed away, became number 5. It's gonna be that kind of show. I can feel it. So we'll be spoiling the books for the week. If you haven't read your books, you may want to take a break and come back and see us. Or just see us anyways, because our one viewer is getting lonely. Otherwise, please come in, let us spoil them. And then we will... Yes. So we will give our honest listener's opinion. If you can, like, share, and subscribe, ring the bell so that you're notified when we do new videos. And let's get to it.
So if they're subscribing, is it really an unsolicited opinion?
Yes, because they didn't ask for specifically for my opinion. They more subscribe for the
hijinks.
The hijinks. That's what it is.
Okay, just checking. That kind of.
That's where we're gonna go. That's where I'm sticking to it. We're only gonna do 2 books today, so we can get through them. I think I'm gonna try a new format. I think that's what I'm gonna go to, just because the shows upload a little bit faster, and I mean I read way more than that. I was telling
Angel
him
and her Unicorn Light.
Yeah. So I think we're going to try 2 books a piece instead and see how that goes for a little while. Fill that one out, and then I may change in the future. I don't know. I feel like there's going to be a lot of changes coming since January. January, I'm going to reboot everything, and I'm going to be on top of it.
He didn't say which January.
It's going to be the same. It's true. All right. I'll let you go first.
The first book I read, it's a one-shot. It's Lock and Key Dog Days. It's by Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez.
Who did the original ones.
Yes. Thanks to this guy and the Angel for introducing me to the original ones. Loved them. So this is a one-shot, and it sounds like at the end of it, they kind of talk about that they're going to be rebooting and restarting, and
well, that's
and
more
there's
like
a TV show coming, so they're going to cash in on that.
I feel like it's a continuation. Like I feel like the end of the book, it feels like they can continue on with a new story with some of these characters.
Yeah,
but I don't think because I don't feel like it's like a reboot because it's in the future. Anyways,
well,
we'll
yeah,
get
I
there.
didn't.
We'll get there.
Did I say reboot?
Yeah.
Well,
Visiting,
yeah,
rehashing,
so
reheating.
It starts out showing the mansion after the events of the Macro series. It was all destroyed, and so have we seen the half door before?
I feel like we have. Isn't that the one that the little boy went through to become a bird?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd have to go back and read them again. But out of memory wise, I feel like that's the one that he used to became a bird, and that the guy trapped him in. That's how he trapped him in like the bird form for a while.
Yeah. So you see 3 boys out playing, and one of them is acting rather dog-like.
He says random things that are just like really weird, like like. Maybe their butt smells like, what does he say? Like, maybe their butt smells like something. Like
lunch.
Yeah, like lunch. That's what...
And the boys kind of look at him a little weird, but they're not too off-put by that. And then in the background, they're kind of showing around the area. And then the kid's trying to drink out of the toilet, and they're like, if you want water, use a glass. So the guy takes a glass and dumps it in the toilet. And so they're...
They do this for several panels.
Yeah.
Like, several pages is just this, like... It's this very comic strip book, or like a... Not even comic strip. Newspaper comic strip.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, 4 panels, pretty simple. Little one-liners, little cha-ching kind of things. And as they go along...
So finally, the kid comes through the little half door and turns back into was that a corgi?
Yeah.
And so you realize they turn their corgi into a boy so they could play with
Yeah.
him as a boy, and then so it's kind of an interesting take on things. And then the other two boys are, once they turn him back into a dog, they're like, how yucky would that to be a dog? And they talking about all the things that dogs do, and then they look at each other like, oh, that's not so bad.
Doesn't
Don't have to go
sound
to
so
school
horrible, yeah.
and no chores and then the last panel you see 3 dogs out
Yeah.
playing. So
Yeah, you see the corgi and then 2 other dogs in the background that look like the little boys.
yeah. So and then there's a little short one, the
It's the brother-in-law, the
yeah,
uncle.
Yeah, the uncle. They've torn down the house and it's just the foundations. And then is that the brother?
That's the oldest son.
The oldest?
Yeah.
He looks a lot different. But so he digs up a little area, puts in a key hole,
like a massive key,
and then undoes a big key and turns it, and the house comes back
fully
so,
formed.
Yeah, and fixed and nice. And
yeah.
So, sort of.
But it shows all the family and shows like their
So after the house had been all torn up and everything, he's like, so that's kind of they're restarting the.
So they're back
thing.
in the house.
So. And then they did a preview of another series that Joe Hill is doing, but I didn't read that because it wasn't.
I started and I just couldn't get into it.
just-
I tried. It drugged on a little bit.
And it wasn't Lock and Key-ish, so.
Well, and like it wasn't. It was like a different book, but it does seem like it's like a little bit different flavor of a book too.
Yeah.
So I tried to get through it. I just didn't. I had so much, or I read so much this week. I think I just kind of skimmed through it.
It was good for what it was. I wanted a little more meat. It was a fun little story. I was like, come on, get back into Lock and Key.
Yes.
And so.
Yeah.
But the end encouraged me that the house is back.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, like it was a cute little one shot. I really thought it was going to be more than what it was. I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a story that went with the Lock and Key universe. And then when they started it off, I really thought, I was like, okay, so it's going to be a prequel that, that happened before, the family came in the house. Then I realized finally halfway through, about the first 3 pages, I was like, okay, this is just going to be like a little one-shot story. And then at the end, I saw the next one-shot story, and then it was the end, and I was like, that was really quick. So I thought it was gonna be like a series, but then I realized, sadly, it was just a one-shot story, which really made me cry a little bit. But it's
At the end that they bring the house back is wide open,
and the art is so fun, and I really like the artist. Like he did a different style completely from the original Lock and Key, with the boys and the corgi. It was more cartoony, like I said, like a newspaper strip story. And then the last issue, or the last one, like everybody looked a little bit more adult, and even the art even looked more mature. The backgrounds looked a lot crisper, and than what I remember from the original Lock and Key series. Which, by the way, if you haven't read the Lock and Key series, it is probably one of my highest recommendations for any reader, new or old. Just because I think it lends itself to a lot of different audiences. There's mystery, there's kind of a horror element, there's kind of a superhero-esque element, there's a drama. I mean, like, so many things happen that, and like, it is so well written. The dialogue is really good. Some of it gets a little confusing, but then I feel like as you go on, you're like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. So they all rap about. It is probably one of the penultimate comic books that's out there, I feel like. I mean, it's like, for me, it'd probably be my top 5 favorite reads. And it also does kind of hold a little bit of a special place for me anyways, just because of Jenny, and that was one of our first book clubs that we got together and did with.
That was
a lot
where
of
I
people.
joined book club,
Yeah.
and we were just gonna read the first 6, and we all just blew through the entire series.
Like
'Cause
within
we
like
couldn't
2
stop.
weeks.
We
Yeah.
couldn't stop.
Yeah, we had only planned on reading the first book, and then probably by like 2 days later, I was like, I'm on book 3, and like Jenny's like, I'm on book 4, like, and James like, I haven't read past. So, but we ended up, we read that whole thing. It was really good. All right, so I'm gonna do The Magicians, which is a series that was originally done by Lev Grossman, and it was.
Is it at all related to the TV show?
Yes.
Okay.
Hang on.
Okay.
So, written by Lev Grossman and Lila Sturges and art by Pius Bach. So, it is linked, I think, more towards a... there's like a combination of maybe TV series / books. They haven't... But it's a...
But it's the Break Bills universe.
Yes.
Okay.
But they are past. They're like where the people from the TV series or the books would be like an instructor. So they're like in the future. So it's a brand new set of students. They're allowing hedge witches into the school. And so they bring in a class of hedge witches, and he snuck in. I shut the door, and then I had all the cats out, and Thunder snuck in. So they have bring in the head witches, but they bring in a hedge witch instructor, and they bring in hedge witch kids, and they're starting this program, and they are like
What, a hedge witch is like a minor power? Or
no,
what
they're the ones that did not go to Break Bills. They didn't get in, or they have never been asked to be at Break Bills, but they found out magic.
They haven't been trained.
Right, and so they find out in the like black market,
Okay.
like over the they use spells from the internet, or they have these houses like in the books they have all these little flop houses that it's kind of like it's almost like a junkie. Like they have and they have like all these stamps on their arm of how or on their body of how many spells they know. So if they get like 10 spells, they get like a stamp or. And so they keep going up, and so the more stamps you have, the more higher you are in this world, the hedge witch world. So they're kind of untrained witches that are not formally trained, and so they come to Break Bills, and they get accepted, and they're kind of like being a class, and they bring in their own instructor, and go away, and so they kind of it's like them trying to fit in, and so they're trying to fit in with the classically trained Break Bills people, and they don't think they should be there. The hedge witches are like trying to prove themselves, so they go to the forest where there's like this magical circle, and they're all like, okay, you're supposed to. Oh, first of all, they kind of have like they create this class where they put the hedge witches that came and Break Bills people, and they're like, okay. We're actually not going to teach you magic. We're going to teach you battle magic, which is forbidden. And so they're like, nobody can know about this. Nothing can be known about this. So this is going to be totally off the books. So they're like, that's already starting off things. Well, all these people from this class go to the forest, and they're all like, oh, I'm going to show you how, like the Break Bills people, of course, are like, I'm going to show you how like a really trained magician's supposed to do it. And then all of a sudden the hedge witches are doing things, and he is killing me today. Like, you are just in... So, they all start their spells and kind of do different things. Well, one girl, the Break Bills girl, she's like, I learned this spell, so she does it, and all of a sudden she catches on fire and she burns herself. So, like, the end of the book is like her dead body and crisping in this circle. So, I'm not for sure where they're going to go from that. So, I'm curious to see how that's going to work out. But... I think the art's okay. It's not my favorite. I wish it was a little bit cleaner because some of it does tend to lend itself to I'm not quite sure who some of the characters are right away. But I figure them out after a while. I just wish they could have been a little bit crisper. But it was, the art was okay. The story was really good. I really liked it. I liked the continuation. I hate him so much. And
Move along. Move along.
He's a horrible child. So I really like this one though. It's a good continuation. I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with this. I'm curious to see what they're gonna bring in these other characters, because that's the hard part. Is like if they bring in other characters, it kind of shows how they end up, and I'm not for sure if they're gonna do that or not. So, but I like the Magician's World. I like the books. The books are really good. The show's really really good. I like that they took a different twist on some of these things. The show is actually one of the few shows that I like the choices they made that are better than the books. So, I give it a probably 4 out of 5 unicorn horns. Like I said, if you're a Magician's fan, I think you like it. If you're not, it may not be quite as exciting for you, but because there's not that history to hold on to. So yeah, so pretty good. Oh, did you end up? We didn't write the. You didn't write the Lock and Key.
I go 4 horns.
Yeah, I'd say 4. 5 would have been a 5 if it was actually like tied into like more of the story.
Yeah. Okay. So my next and last book is Undiscovered Country from Image. It's by Scott Snyder and Charles Soule, and art by Giuseppe Camuncoli and Danielle Orlandi. Okay.
A lot of words.
So the premise is about now the U.S. decides to shut itself off from the rest of the world, and they build physical walls, and then there's a communication blackout. They
have wind barriers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things to unpack in this.
So
this
the
comic.
book starts 30 years after that. And the rest of the world isn't doing so good. And there's a group of people. There's some diplomats, some scientists, some explorers have been invited to come to America. And you find out why later. But so they got an invitation. I guess everybody else that's tried to go in has been shot down or never heard from again. Or
There's one guy. I mean, like it's like really hard. Like if you break into this place, it's not like. I mean, it's like intense.
so they get in, they get it to the wall, and so as they're coming in, then all of a sudden a missile fires up and hits their helicopter and shoots it down. So then it flips back like a week ago, and one of the people on the helicopter is treating a kid who's got. There's a plague that's going around called the blue sky virus, and apparently it's like really bad, and so she's treating him, and while she's treating him, this guy comes to her and says he needs her for a mission. She's like, well, I gotta treat this kid, and he's like, he's dead already. So
Big damn dead.
so then it flips back to the helicopters crashed, but they've all survived, and they're trying to discuss what happened, trying to figure out, why they got shot down, if they screwed up, if it was a trap, or so then it flips back to the invitation from America. It's a scientist named...
Kind of looks like Uncle Sam or like the KFC guy.
Yeah.
Colonel Sanders.
What is his name? Something Elgin or something like that.
I got so confused on some of the stuff.
So anyway, it's
he's saying that they have a cure and all this stuff.
And America's been watching, and we've got a cure, and we don't think that you're going to last more than 6 months without us. and it may be time to let the rest of the world back in.
Mm-hmm.
So then they're all debating this. They're like, is this a trap? Is this for real? Is this hacked? And the scientists in the group are like, well, he's not lying about the 6 months part. So they decide that they're going to go. And so,
along the way, there's all these interactions. Like, you find out that one girl is like one girl's related to one of the other people on the team. These other people hate
one
each
guy's
other.
broken in and broken out of America.
He's one of the few that's done it.
And so there's
there's tons of like backstory drama.
So it's back to them in America, and they come across a tree with a TV on it. It's like strung up in it, and they're like, that's one of the. It's a Zenith, which is one of the last TVs made in the U.S. There are no TVs made in the U.S. anymore. So
and that's the least weird part of this.
So then they see this kind of mad. They look over a hill and see this kind of Mad Max
Thunderdome.
Yeah.
Like Tina Turner's gonna show up at any moment.
Yeah.
But they don't just ride on like cars. Like they're riding on like fish.
Well, yeah,
like
one of them's on a
fish.
giant shark, and
one was like a goldfish or like a snake.
Yeah.
It's
something
really
weird's happened. So, and then they're all wrapped in like Mylar.
Yeah.
So, the pilot had stayed behind with the helicopter
to fix it.
So, the rest of the group looks over the hill and they see this Mad Max thing coming up on the pilot, and this guy riding a bison says, "No foreigner will ever step foot on American soil," and the bison eats the guy's legs.
Clean off.
So, so the rest of them gasp and head out, and when they gasp, the bad guys see them and chase after them. So, they head through a pass, and then they look up and see that. So they're running away from these people. They go through a pass trying to get away from them, and there's even more of them coming toward them.
One of them's got like a land yacht, like it looks like a giant ship, but it's like it looked like there was a movie they did not too long ago where it was like the city of London was actually moving like on like rollers. That's kind of what it reminded me of.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course there's like more fish things and more things being pulled by parachutes, and it's kind of crazy.
So so then this guy comes out of a cave or something, and he's like, if you want to live, come with me. And he shows them an American flag, because all these other ones have some kind of weird, it's kind of a takeoff on the rebel flag. And so he takes them into a cave and closes it off and says, we'll be safe in here. And there's some people inside, and kind of a, I don't know, looks like a,
I don't know either.
It looks like a cross between a Fallout shelter and a
Vegas nightclub,
Great Depression flop house. And he shows them a map of the U.S. and it's weird. It's like
a American flag yellow brick road. Like there's like a road that swirls.
There's a spiral, and then all the places are named after. There's like the Purple Mountain Kingdom, and the Red Glare, and Fort Knox, and the Shining Sea. So all based on the America the Beautiful song, and so it sounds like America is not doing as well as everybody else assumed that America was light years ahead of everybody else, and America's struggling. So the guy takes off his mask, and it's the person that sent him the message, but he looks different. He looks more haggard. He's got scars and stuff. So you're like, well, then who sent the message?
Or when was the message sent?
And
made?
Yeah. And he tells them that he wants them to save America.
He does like the Uncle Sam. He's like, he does like the Uncle Sam.
To save America.
I need you to save him.
And then there's some backstory. They're talking about why the U.S. locked itself away, and it goes to 7 years before the. So I assume this is gonna be fleshed out more and more, and then they're talking about how they
came up with the idea.
How Soleil and Snyder came up with the idea, and apparently they became running buddies at cons and out on their runs. They became friends and then started pitching ideas back and forth, and that's where this came from. So, don't run as...
I don't have those kind of ideas.
You don't have a buddy.
That's what I need. I need more buddies. So what'd you think?
I was kind of disappointed. I was expecting something else. The weirdness for weirdness sake is kind of getting old. We'll see, but I'm a little disappointed.
I have to agree. I think some of the ideas were really neat. Like I thought the guy that riding the bison and then he eats, like nobody's gonna set foot on America's soil, and he like eats his feet. I think that's really jacked up. And I liked some of the other little concepts, like the sky virus is kind of interesting. I'm curious to see how that kind of came about. America being blocked off. Like, there are aspects of this story that I actually really would like to know more about, but it is so convoluted and so... I'm not for sure if the way they wrote it was the right way for me, because I feel like there's a lot of flashback and flash forward, so it got very confusing. Then they added even more confusion to it by adding all these characters' interactions with each other, which normally is a good thing. And they developed characters, but they developed characters while they were trying to develop this world, and it kind of all got lost in the jumble together. Like, I was so confused, like, why was there, wind things? Why was there this virus? Why was it shut off?
How are the fish walking?
Yeah, why is there, how are they riding fish? Like, how is there, there's parachutes pulling cars? I'm like, what is going on? Like, people wrapped up in, I got really lost, and it almost got to the point where they added so much stuff that by the time I got lost, and then I got more lost, and then I got more and more lost, I didn't care about being lost. I was just done. Like, I was just like, I didn't even want to know. Like, I got through it, and I got to the end, but I was just like, I don't want to read the next issue, because I don't even care anymore. It was just...
I'm not quite that level, but it could have been better.
I think I don't know. Maybe if I wait till they come out more, and then I can read a couple in a row, I may be a little bit more inclined to stay with it, but right now I have so much stuff that I read that it was one of those things where by the time I got done reading it, although
they tried to put so much in the first issue.
Yeah.
They need to hint at more things. Just hint that they thought America was going to be A, and then it's B. And then just leave all the rest of the stuff till 2 or 3 or 4 or 5.
Maybe take the characterization out of it for a minute. Like, set up the story, and then maybe the next issue maybe give a little bit more about a character.
Or have one character interaction,
right,
but not all of them.
Yeah, like, got really confusing because of the two people in the suits were fighting because they didn't like each other because they were negotiators, and then the brother and wasn't it brother and sister?
Yeah.
The doctor and then the guy that got out of America.
The two diplomats so the rest of the world split into two factions that apparently hate each other, And like the diplomats were saying, well, the fact that I haven't poisoned you yet means that I'm
and that's the other thing,
amenable to this. And
a lot
I'm like,
of this stuff,
are they kidding? Are they not? You know, is that a real thing? Do they hate each other, or do they? We hate each other.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Like, we hate each other because we're on different sides, not because we hate each other. Yeah, it was, and there was a lot of stuff that like they didn't explain at all, and so you kind of need that explanation to understand what the heck the conversation's talking about. Like the sky virus thing, that took me a while to figure out what was going on. Because that whole interaction where she was talking to that guy and she's like, don't worry, you know, I've got a roof over your head. And then the guy comes over and he's like, hey, I'm going to take your roof. And he goes, this is an umbrella. And I'm like, what? Wait, how do you know it's an umbrella? And they don't know it's an umbrella? What is going on? Like, why? So much confusion.
So they were spraying antiseptics or something, I guess, to keep the virus down, and it fell straight down, and they were saying if this touched you, it caused a lot of problems. So they put, you know, as long as you had something over your head, you were fine. Which that
everything they called was roof.
Doesn't work. So anything that's above you is a roof.
I wish they would. There was several things, like I said, like there were several things that I was really interested in, and I wish they would have focused more on some of those things, or at least one or two of those things, instead of throwing the whole kitchen sink at us, because it was a lot. The art was really good, though. I thought the art they did really good, and some of the visualizations, like I said, like the bison and I mean, even the weird where they're riding on fish. That whole picture is beautiful. Like, it's well done. Like, the art is really, like, they chose really great colors and everything like that. I really like that. But it got lost in so much other stuff that, unfortunately, it was really, I'm just kind of like, oh, great, more weird stuff. So, sadly, I feel like some of the great things that they did do in the book really got lost with overwhelmed by the other stuff. I would give it a 2 out of 5 unicorn horns, because, like I said,
I kind of want to give it a 3. Probably knock it down to 2.5. But I'll definitely read number 2.
I probably won't.
And supposedly it's been optioned as a TV show, but anymore, what hasn't?
I know, this is true. This is so true. Speaking of which, so my next one, it's called Crone, and it is by Dark Horse Comics, written by Dennis Culver, and art was Justin Greenwood. So it was not convoluted. There was not a complex story. It was a very simplistic trope about there's a warlord, and there is a lady named Bliss, and it's kind of medievalist. She looks like a Red Sonja. She's got red hair and this bikini, and she's killing bad guys, and she has like everybody's all about Bliss. Like, everybody, you know, talks about her. Well, she's got these 2 guys with her. So there's this guy in a loincloth, and then there's another guy that's kind of a rogue, and you know, they're helping her, and they're like, well, we never get mentioned. You know, it's like, well, because we're with Bliss. And so she fights this warlord and, you know, supposedly wins the thing. Then it cuts to the future where she's, like, wanting to jump off a cliff, and she goes, nope, not today. So there are 2 people in the forest, a dad and a daughter, and then they have a companion. And they're traveling through the forest, and, like, they hint that they're trying to find this woman. And that's going to help them, and they're like, but this forest is full of, and all of a sudden this bear busts through, and he's like, bear! And it kills one of the guys, and then the daughter jumps up, and she's like, I'll protect us, and hilarity ensues. Come to find out, the old woman that was jumping off the cliff helps them, and she kills the bear, and she's like, I'm not going to help you, go away. So he comes in, and
she helps him, and then says, I'm not going to help you.
Right, exactly. She kills the bear, and then she's like, go away. And he's like, no.
Killed him bear when he was only 3.
She used a toothpick. So she comes to find out that the guy that is with the daughter is one of the guys that she was running with before in the initial sequence. And so he talks about how he kind of came about and what he needs. They need help with their village was overrun, and she's the only one that can help him. And she's like, I'm not. I'm old, I'm not doing this. And he's like, you have to. And she's like, no, I'm not doing it again. And come to find out, he goes, you have to, because the warlord that was in the, earlier thing, he's back. And she's like, he can't be. I killed him. And it shows her cutting his head off. So whoever this warlord is somebody else.
I got better.
Yeah, either somebody else or he's like a demon or something happened. So obviously that's gonna be like one of the stories they're gonna go with. Also during the story, like the guy, he's like, well, the girl's like, well, train me. If you train me to fight, you don't have to fight. I'll train me to fight. And she's like, I'm not doing it. And so I'm assuming they're gonna get her back into this, and so this old woman's gonna go and fight, which I think is gonna be kind of fun. I love when reminds me a lot of the Once and Future that we've been reviewing a couple times, like the old ladies. Like, well, I always think it's fun. I always think it's fun when somebody that's not supposed to be like good at these things are, and that a lot of people females are weak, and then when they kick butt, it's just like yes, love stuff like that. Or like the nerd, the nerd is he's just a nerd, but then he goes and he stops everybody.
Yoda.
Yeah, Yoda. Yeah, see, those are more fun than like.
Walking around with the cane and then boop, boop, boop,
yeah. It's like, jumps on every wall and like
and he's
cuts you in
back
half.
to the cane.
Yeah.
You're like, really?
Hey, you know what? Arthritis is a visage. So, I mean, like I said, it wasn't an over complex story. It was kind of fun. The art was nice. I will probably read number 2 just to see where they're going to go with this. I think that was kind of refreshing too. Like sometimes just to do a good book, you don't have to be... I bring up a lot about Zenescope, but seriously, Zenescope, they've got a formula. It's just a good writing, good art, good book, good characters, nothing super complex. They're not going to try to, reinvent the wheel. They're just going to do a nice wheel. And I enjoy that. Like, it's nice to read that and not be, it was... Like, this book was a quick read. I enjoyed the art. I get the story. I get the characters. I'm not super, overly stimulated. I mean, it's nice to be... There are books that are nice like that. Like, I feel like when we brought up earlier Lock and Key, I feel like Lock and Key was complex. There was a lot of stuff to unpack on some of those things. I mean, like, just a lot of stuff. But they did it in a nice way, or concise way, that you didn't feel, like, lost all the time. And that was... I feel like, sometimes it's nice to have a... So, I give this one probably a 3.5 stars. I'm curious to see where they're going to go with this, but I think it's more because it's like a personal fun book that I would like, so. Alright. I know, we're not going to do a pull list. That's one of the things I think I might change eventually, is I think I'm going to try to do, possibly do a different...
a pull list video.
A pull list episode. I'm spitballing some names, so we will find out, see if that comes into play maybe in January. I gotta figure out how to work it out in my schedule. But I read quite a bit. I read, 26 books this week, and that was just since yesterday. I still got to go pick up my pull list, so lots of things on the burner. So if there's a book that we didn't cover that maybe you would like to know about, we may have read it, we may not. Leave us a comment. We would love to hear from you. Like, share, and subscribe. Ring the bell so you can get notified. Something kind of rhymes. It's kind of like a little... I like that. I wonder if anybody's got that one. I should maybe trademark that. Trademark Alan. But until then, we hope your pull list is full. Bye.